Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the Fengyun Dota 2 battle. Of course, we've got another best of 3 series here between New Element and Dreamtime Club. Of course, thank you for joining us here on Beyond the Summit. My name is Malt. With me tonight is Skip. How are you, sir?
Yeah, doing very well. Looking forward to this next best of 3. We've actually jumped a little bit for anybody looking at the schedule. So I believe we're going to have this, and then the next best of 3 is going to be Vici versus Sparchin.
Yeah, that is correct. They did change the schedule around a little bit, so yeah, obviously, if anyone's confused about that, well, we're here now. So we do have this best of 3 series. Obviously, we just saw a pretty good best of 3 between Team DK and Tongfu. Now, remember, this is the round of 16. It's a single elimination, so the teams have to play at their utmost right now to take home the victory. So far, the bans are standard, Clockwork as well as the Alchemist. I don't imagine too many crazy bans coming out. No Bristleback thus far. It's been banned. You know, it's a good hero, and I think it deserves the ban. A little bit, I think, overrated sometimes, but still really annoying to deal with, I think.
Yeah, if you don't have a concrete strategy to deal with it, then you can get a little bit overrun. And it's just another one of those heroes that's similar to the Pugna. If it gets drafted early, it changes the whole way that you draft, because while it does betray a lot of the enemy teams, their strategy, it forces you to play more to the early game, which for some teams isn't necessarily their style. But a couple of interesting last bans. They get rid of the Lifestealer and the Chen, so Timber's going to make it through, Bristleback makes it through, Slug makes it through, and should make for an interesting game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of interesting pickups that are going to be coming here, and Slork is the first of hopefully many coming out from Dreamtime. So I think this is an interesting pickup. We mentioned the Bristleback still available, and yeah, you do have to kind of coordinate around the early game because he is so strong. Then obviously if you're going to the late game 40 minutes in with like your Slark as your main focal point, like as your one that's getting farm in the safe lane, it's not going to work out so well for you. But the question is, do they go for that? And clearly for New Elite, they're going for the Visage and the Rubik, so it's not quite like they wanted that hero. They wanted to go for these strong supports early on, which I feel like kind of makes it so it's easy to ban out for DT now. At least that's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, not many teams go for the double support, I think, at the very start, but it does give you the flexibility to be able to spend 2 bans on supports in the second round of bans and feel fairly confident. I think, as I mentioned in the draft for our last game, that supports are sort of now becoming more and more level. It's less of a big deal to ban out supports. Yes, it's really nice to have particular supports if you have a particular strategy in mind, like Crystal Maiden with Elder Titan and things like that, but otherwise I think you're never scraping the bottom of the barrel too hard to try and find a good support.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they really are. I mean, you think about, certain heroes that work to support, like the Bane is very effective, which we see from time to time. Rubik's obviously been played a lot. Just racking my brain right now. Crystal Man's already been picked up. That's a strong support as well. Those have been kind of the supports, other than the Bane, that I think you see most often, including the Visage as well. Those are like the top tier supports. The Chen and the Enchantress are, of course, those jungle supports that work very well. Even Enigma can function in that regard, but it's more of sort of a team fight hero. Less support, can roam early on and be effective. There's still a lot of them in the pool, as you can clearly see. They're going to go ahead and ban out the Elder Titan, though, so that's a ban that they want to focus on more of the offlane and kind of how good that hero can be despite getting nerfed a little bit. Still, though, I do prefer DT's draft a little bit early on just because they have that Slark. There's no Bristleback ban just yet, no Pugna ban as well, no Nature's Prophet ban, so that pushing is available if they want to go down that road.
Dire team back.
Where have you seen the Slark run? Because my expectation was that by and large he's going to be offlane. He's obviously a viable mid as well, but I've seen a couple of games where he's been the one position farmer, and yes. I haven't watched as much Dota as I would like. So remaining. What have you seen, Mo?
Well, you and me both. We haven't watched. I mean, I haven't watched all that much Dota, but I feel like when I do watch Dota, it's a lot of North American stuff, and they're just so up on this Slark mid, and I guess it's fine. Yeah, it can really work in any lane, like you mentioned. I think that in offlane it works well. I think we saw Joe played in the farming position last night. So it works in really any capacity. It just depends on what you want to get out of it. I think offlane works really well because you're not really in any position of dying if you have the pounce up and available. Then again, mid is also very strong as well. So I don't know. I don't know where I prefer it, but that's where I've seen it played. Not bad either way.
And you have a really standard draft so far. I think it's like it feels like a lineup that I've seen a lot over the course of the last however many months.
It really is. It's I mean, like, because you see the Luna a lot too, and Luna's coming like it was like the same time I feel like last year, wasn't it? When like the Luna was picked so often, and you're just like, oh, another Luna pick, another Luna carry, nice. It means like early aggression, but also can take you into the late game as well. The Rubik and Visage on top of that. Yeah, I mean this is standard. Nothing too crazy about this, unless they pick up something ridiculous here with their last couple of picks. But who knows? I mean, we'll see what they want to pick for their mid and their off lane because that's what they have left right now. And the thing is, DT with their last ban, they can coordinate their ban towards one of those positions, but it's only one ban left here. Whereas they have a couple of picks they need, and they're not quite sure where they're running things just yet. They do have reserve time going right now, and I'm not quite sure what they'll pick up and where they're going to land the Slark, which I do like about their draft, is that they have a bit of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Unpredictable kind of drafting going their way. So
yeah, it's definitely not super standard. I mean, if you're looking at any, like, okay, maybe they take a Dragon Knight for mid and then they just jam something in the off lane and you're done. Like that's the draft. If they could get like a DK for mid and a Bristleback for the off lane, I think they've got a really solid lineup. So far, it can 5-man pretty early, and it's up to DT to do interesting stuff to prevent this lineup that we've seen a million times, which is quite strong, just doing what it's going to do. But Darkseer, another hero that I think has been sidelined quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
in recent memory.
Absolutely, and for good reason. That vacuum increase for Darkseer, you can't get it quite often anymore. Although it's still a very strong team fight. I mean, it's the same. I feel like hitting a wall vacuum, a really good one, is the equivalent of hitting a good black hole. Maybe a little bit less, but against a lineup with like a Luna, that right-click damage is pretty outstanding. So I don't mind it at all, and it works well in the off lane. And you're not going to kill him that effectively. And I think he's been unfairly punished for, with the nerf. I do love that hero. Still, he's one of my favorite to play and to watch. So we'll see how DT can play this effectively. I'm not quite sure what they'll do with it.
Here's the thing. I don't think a 2-second nerf on Vacuum's cooldown is what pushed Darkseer out. I think a big thing is that the best thing about Darkseer before was that he didn't die on the offlane. He applied a lot of pressure. He was pretty much one of your best offlaners against the defensive tri-lane. He was probably the best 3v1 hero in that situation. Now offlaning is so much safer, and you get so much more out of a hero like a Clockwork or a Timbersaw or things like that. I don't think it's so much that Darkseer is. I don't think he's bad per se. I just think there are better heroes for the role. So we'll see what this Darkseer is going to manage to do. It is, of course, against a Luna, so you might be able to get a Luna illusion in team fights. That's always great. You can load up an Ion Shell on your Slark as well. That's also fantastic. But I think they need to do quite a bit of ganking with their lineup here. And they've also got the Wisp picked up, so I guess that is going to be the focus.
Yeah, and you mentioned a good point talking about having other offlaners that are more viable now. You're absolutely right. The Darkseer does take a bit of time to get up and running. I mean, he requires a lot of levels, like getting up to level 11 realistically to be like even ready to fight at all. So I think that's why he hasn't been played all that often, but the IO is even more questionable of a pickup to me because that hero's, I guess, still strong and can be okay, but with the changes, he's not quite as good as he used to be. So if they pair it up with the Slark, they're going to go for kills, get pounces, and have an effective time of ganking, it looks like, especially against a pretty squishy team. Rubik and Visage can't be that mobile. So I do like to pick up from DT. And it's a bit unorthodox, which I like about their draft as well. I mean, we've seen so much of the same thing. We talked about it. I mean, like the Luna, the Rubik, the Visage, yeah, you see that forever, and Nyx Assassin even as well. So it's nice to see somebody going in a different direction, and hopefully it propels them to at least a good game so far. But still, we have one more hero to go for both sides. New Elite, they've got to pick right now they actually have a lot of reserve time, and I think with this Nyx Assassin, that's probably off lane, and then they Dragon Knight mid. I think is what it's going to be here.
Radiant team pick.
Yeah, it's a pretty like we said once we got the Luna pickup. Like this is bog standard Dota from any. What do you want to see from DT? I kind of want to see some. I want to see some tiny, but I don't know if we'll see it.
I wouldn't mind a tiny. A little bit of like Fnatic style play would always be nice, and as long as it's not a CK, I think I'm happy because I'm so sick of CK and IO. Even like it's been like a couple months since we've seen that, and I still don't want to see it anymore. I'm just like, listen, it's okay. Remaining. I think with the changes, it's not nearly as good as it used to be. And I think CK is not the greatest hero of all time either. They're going to go for a Night Stalker, though, which is a very strong pickup. I really like this, actually, and it's been very effective for ganking. But really the question is, how can he do, not necessarily in the first nighttime, but the second nighttime is where I think the focus is now, because that with the change to nighttime, I think it's less and less of, okay, we need to get these kills and whatever on the first nighttime. No, I think you've got a little more elongated period of time to be effective, and especially with the IO as well.
Yeah. The problem I think for them is that they have two gankers in their cores. So if the Slark and the Night Stalker don't get a lot of pickoffs and get a lot of work done early, then they're just going to lose the team fights to any. And they don't even have the late game secured. It's a Night Stalker and a Slark up against a Luna and a Dragon Knight, and I think I have to give the edge to the Luna and the DK. Of course, there's also Darkseer to factor in, so maybe the Darkseer is going to be the tipping point, but the Slark and the Night Stalker are still going to have a good game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, they need to get something done here early, because if you let Luna farm away, she can be disastrous. Same with the Dragon Knight as well, who does have a bit of a late game in his own right. But once again, it's all about that big team fight. You talk about it so much when you have like an Enigma in the game or a Magnus. It's a similar situation with a Darkseer. I think it's very, very similar in that vein. So it comes down to who has the early game. And if the late game is good enough for a new elite, will the Darkseer be able to combine up some nice vacuums and walls? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, it's game number 1 between DT and NE here in this best-of-3 series for the Fengyun, of course, Dota 2 battle. So, once again, thank you for joining us. My name is Malt. With me is basically, we'll have a bit of a pause, it looks like, as always. And, I mean, issues abound whenever you play Pro Dota. It happens literally 99% of the time, and that's just regrettable. It happens, however. But while we're waiting, why don't we get into some... I guess we'll get in some introductions here. So, on the side of DT, we have Air, that'll be on the Night Stalker. Zhao Tule will be on the Slark. In July will be on the Darkseer. Looks like Dreamy will be on the Crystal Maiden. And rounding it all out on the IO, I believe that is Super, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it is Sam.
It's Super.
Excellent, good. Got it. And go ahead and do the Dire Team, base kip.
Okay, so over on NE, we have A on Rubik, Chicky is going to be on Dragon Knight, Shauna will be your Visage, Z, who I believe is ZCD, stood in a little bit for some teams during WPC Ace, is going to be on the Luna, and that leaves Long to handle the Nyx Assassin.
Yeah, so we're going to wait for the game to start. While we are waiting, we have a bit of time. Look at these cosmetics for the Luna. I've actually never seen this set before. Look at that thing. Majestic. Beautiful.
It's pretty cool. There's like 2 Luna sets out now, I think. I think a Nuxie set also got added.
Yeah,
so.
We need more Luna sets, guys. We need more sets in general. I guess more hats. More hats, please. Give us more hats.
No, yeah. I don't know how to feel about the hats sometimes. But,
no, not so much.
I like a lot of the sets. I have some qualms about mixing and matching, but let's not get into that. Otherwise, I could be here for a little while.
Okay.
It's interesting. The Darkseer to me is kind of interesting because, well, your best case is I guess you vacuum everybody into a wall and a freezing field.
Oof.
They don't really have anything else to really combo with it. I mean, the Ion Shell on the Slark and the Night Stalker is going to be great, but again, questioned a little bit during the draft, and I'm also kind of wondering what it does for them. I almost wish they had a bounty hunter or something instead. Yes, having the fast mech and yes, having a little bit of extra team fight is going to help, but they're so far into the ganking strategy anyway, I figure you may as well have just rounded out the face rush with even more face rush.
I agree with you.
That's just me.
I agree with you. And honestly, we saw a little bit of it in the past 2 nights when we were doing Ace, and I was talking about it a little bit. It's just like a lot of the teams like to roam for this sort of pushing, sort of team fighting, sort of ganking kind of lineup where they have a little bit of everything, but that's not really what DT has here. I mean, they have like mostly gank oriented with a little bit of team fight from the Darkseer and the Crystal Maiden, so it's not like they have that heavy push. It's not like they have that heavy farming potential. So they went in one direction. They tried to get a little bit more out of the other direction without going in like I guess a really just all-around strategy, if that makes any sense. I've seen it more and more. I'm not sure how it's going to go for in July and the rest of DT. Like I said, I like the fact that they're taking risks with their draft. I don't mind it. In best-of-3 series, you know, if it's the first game, you might as well, I suppose.
Yeah. The one thing that is, you know, worth saying about the Darkseer is that typically when you see the Luna, if there was someone like a bounty hunter in an offlane, you are guaranteed to lose that tier 1 tower within the first 5-6 minutes. So the Darkseer is going to be able to hold on to that for a little bit longer and punish lots of pulling from the NE supports and things like that. So I think it's a good pickup in that regard, at least for the early landing stage. And I guess thinking about that, it's not as bad, but we'll have to see. I guess pressure on in July to make plays happen.
To make room, make something happen, and I think that's going to be difficult because of the fact that, once again, this is such a, like, the patch is really oriented about getting fights early on. I mean, we talked about the last 2 games. They were both under 20 minutes, or at least I think they were both under 20 minutes for, you know, the majority there. So, I mean, like, Darkseer does require time to get up and ready to go. Like I talked about in the draft a little bit. Maybe not the longest hero to require to get up and ready to go because it's not that carry, obviously, but still. The Darkseer is one focal point. On the other side, Nyx Assassin, if they land him in like a solo safe or even an offlane scenario, he's got to be able to survive, and he should, even though they do have Pounce in the Slark, so... I don't know, man. Like, this is an interesting draft coming for both ways. We still have this pause going through, and... Oh boy, what would we do without pauses, I gotta say.
Well, at least we're on schedule. Like, if this was SEA Dota, we would have had... we would be an hour behind schedule, and we would pause for 15 minutes at the start of each game. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Looks like we are ready to go. The other hero to watch out for, I think, for the early game, like any are pretty mediocre gankers for the early game. I wouldn't expect to see them moving around too much. Maybe the Nyx Assassin, once he gets level 5, level 6, might move around a little bit with the Rubik, but I think the other big point is how much can this Crystal Maiden do? She can definitely gank whoever is on mid. It's probably going to be the Dragon Knight, and do all right. So again, another game where there's pressure on the Crystal Maiden to roam early and aggressively. And we've seen what a Crystal Maiden with a really good start can do in a game. I don't know if you've watched the one game where Misery sort of went his Crystal Midas build and did all of that and sort of started the beginning, at least in my mind, started the beginning of the whole Midas trend.
Yeah.
He got the first 4 kills of the game in like 8 minutes on his roaming Crystal Maiden, so we'll see if Dreamy you can maybe live up to that.
Yeah, let me tell you, after that game happened, specifically in North American Dota and NEL, literally every game, Crystal Maiden pick up a Midas. They didn't care if they were down like 5 kills, if the CM had died all the time. It's like 25 minutes in, build a Midas on the CM. I'm just like, I don't know if that's necessary, guys. Can we get away from that trend?
Yeah, you're just trying to put your hand up, like, I'm not sure about that, buddy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
so both teams make kind of the same move to start things off. They head down, they place a ward that doesn't block any camps, but just provides a little bit of safety to their offlaner. And looks like lanes are going to be pretty much standard. Crystal Maiden's going to jungle a little bit to start. She won't be able to jungle for too long. She's only got the 1 clarity, so expect a really early gank from her, maybe heading towards mid. We'll see if maybe the Night Stalker can lay down some harassment once he reaches level 3 and get the DK within kill range, because Crystal Maiden only starting with 1 clarity means that she's going to be moving early, I think.
Yeah, and we see this so often from Crystal Maidens, is start in the jungle, get level 2, and then smoke up and roam, either to the mid lane, to the, of course, side lane. It works either way. It also gives time for your mid laner to be able to get farm, get some sort of abilities, as well as last hits. Not that the last hits really matter to grab kills early on, but still, CM is looking like she will go ahead and just do that, grab the Satyr Hellcaller with the Frostbite. This is actually hard because he does have the Unholy Aura, which allows him to regen, so the Frostbite is actually going to go off. I think before he dies. I'm not sure, actually. She might be able to kill him here. Nope, yep. So he's actually going to regen. It's going to be actually hard for her to kill. She got really unlucky with that creep, so... yeah, she's a little frustrated, but she'll grab the kill anyways, and probably get Arcane Aura next. Yep. We'll see what she wants to skill up, so...
I'm kind of hoping it's going to be Nova. I think that guarantees the kill. I think if you go for Arcane Aura, there's a chance you don't manage to go and kill the Dragon Knight.
Right.
We'll see what she does. I've seen both builds for sure.
Yep. So it is going to take some time for her, obviously, to get up to level 2. Go ahead and roam around as well. You mentioned she's only got the 1 clarity. She's working on the Centaur Conqueror as the camp has been stacked up here, so she'll use that in a moment, it looks like. And down in the bottom lane, Slark is doing okay. He's got room to farm, obviously, but the lane's already been pushed out. On the other side of things, you can see NE have the lane pushed out in their favor as well up in the top lane, with 8 last hits going to the Luna right now. And yeah, you do see the Iron Shield up, and that'll push out the wave very quickly. And he can even try to creep skip, but that would be maybe a little bit inadvisable against the tri-lane. But still, pretty aggressive play coming up from Darkseer hero. Z will still get farmed very easily. Another pause comes through, doesn't really matter. And now what is the Crystal Maiden going to do? That's the very important note. She started with the Arcane Aura instead of going for that Crystal Nova. So she probably is going to, I think, jungle for the time being. She doesn't want to go mid, at least not yet. So interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's an opportunity if you go Crystal Nova to just head over towards mid. Night Stalker's already got the level 2 Void. He's just got his bottle out. Maybe he can lay down some harassment, but DK grabs the rune and looks like he's going to be just fine. Dreamy, may be an opportunity to head down towards bot, but there is a ward spotting him out right now.
Yeah, so I mean, they know that this is happening, at least the next assassin does, and he'll just stay carefully away from any sort of gank potential. He's actually going in pretty deep right now. Obviously, the Crystal Maiden, he can see her clearly with that Dire Ward, like you mentioned. On the other side of things, the Darkseer, he's going to get farmed no matter what, because he is that Darkseer. He's got Iron Shell, and once he levels it up, it'll get last hits a little bit more effectively, obviously. But for now, it's just, I guess, it really comes down to, I think, the early nighttime coming up for the Night Stalker. Not the first one necessarily, like we talked about, but I think it should be his time to shine once that gets going.
Yeah. I'd like to point out that I think Injuly is playing this top lane really well. He's got all of this vision and he's using the information really effectively. Whenever the enemy supports try and run a pull, he just pulls their big camp across and creates havoc as best he possibly can. So getting himself some extra levels, getting himself some extra farm, and in general just keeping the supports busy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see, actually, A is roaming in here pretty aggressively. He wants to get Injuly out, but the right clicks do very little against the stout shield and tankiness of the Darkseer. So, yeah, I mean, he's been very effective in getting levels and getting farm as well. I mean, he's almost level 4, down in the bottom lane. The Nyx Assassin is still actually only level 2, very close to 3 himself. And that's really how it should be. Nyx Assassin shouldn't be getting the farm that a Darkseer is getting in the other lane. And at the same time, mid lane, actually the Night Stalker is somehow winning this matchup. His right-click base damage has been a little bit more effective than the Dragon Knight, who's only at 60, but he does have Breathe Fire to
Injuly might be in some trouble top. Yeah, gets lifted during the surge. He's going to be lifted back, and down he'll go.
Yep, Soul Assumption.
He played up a little bit too far. He was all the way up at the level of the side shop.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Which
Not
is
cautious enough.
Yeah, I mean, surprising against a tri-lane, and you feel like you have a lot of room to maneuver as a Darkseer, but really not that much. And while that was all happening down bottom, Nyx Assassin got initiated on. He had a Spike Carapace, he had a nice Impale as well, so he was in no danger of dying. And he'll go ahead and just babysit this Invis rune for the Dragon Knight, who's had both runes thus far in the game. He'll grab the Invis, maybe think about going back mid. It is nighttime, obviously, for Air, but he still needs a bit more farm, I think, to be super effective. Maybe gets his phase or his Urn. Not quite sure. He can actually start roaming now because he's almost level 6. If he wants to grab another point in Hunter of the Night, he can. But he actually has this early point in Crippling Fear, which I really like. Some Night Stalkers don't do it, but I love getting it early on.
Yeah, I'm almost hoping that DT make a really aggressive move and just send a hero or two top lane, maybe during this first night, maybe during the second night. You load up the Ion Shells and actually maybe just the tri-lane. Injuly looks like he's trapped again. He's surging up. ZCD should be fine. We're going to buy some phase boots. He's still got a salve, and I don't know how Injuly hopes to get out of this one.
He's got supports helping him out, but it might be too late by the time they get here. The Soul Assumption grabbing the kill for Shauna, and he's just saying thank you. It's very kind of you to give me that kill. And so the supports can't get there in time. They actually smoked up just to move a little bit quicker. But now without this Darkseer, they've got no real options here. They just kind of have to sit in the jungle and farm together, and hope he gets back soon.
This is a really decisive play. If this fails, this could be a big problem. A is going to be caught out. They've got the balls.
Look at the Crystal Nova. The Spirit's doing work, and of course the right click coming out. So that's one kill already, and they know that Injuly is back up here. And actually heading back home is the Visage. It looks like he wanted to get something, or he just decided he needed some mana. Obviously without a Clarity and Soul Assumption, of course, costing that mana that it does. He will head back home, and with that, they grab the kill on the Rubik. However, looks like they're going to go ahead and dive here in the top lane. TP's coming in. They don't want to dive any further than this. Look at these reaction telekinesis now on the Crystal Maiden. Here's the Night Stalker. Silence is up on A. Frostbite going through as well. The damage is there. Darkseer grabbing the kill. Soul Assumption. Air's too tanky for that. Now, just going to surge himself underneath the tower. Shauna taking that Crystal Nova to the back of the head. The right clicks as well. Two more should do the job. Iron Shell is up on him. Shauna has Soul Assumption charges. Not anymore. He's juking around the trees. Look at these plays. Surges up, however. There's the Grave Chill. Doesn't matter. In July, getting the double there. Nice little bit of a dive under that tier 1 tower top.
I was really hoping that they were going to make a play like that. Just get the pressure down early and
Dire's top tower is under attack.
just prevent any getting the momentum that they want to have. They want to get the level 6 up on the Visage. They want to take organized fights. Maybe start it off with the pick off by the Nyx Assassin. But it's DT taking control of the pace of the game. And Tricky might be in some trouble mid.
Yeah, that Slark is going to pound Star Pact as well. The right click damage is there, but is it enough? Yes, it is. It looks like the Void did do the job. They're chasing after Luna. They won't dive under the tower for that, but you talk about it. It's another good rotation coming in from Zhao Tulei. So like that, they're getting pickoffs all over the map, and that's really what they need to do, I think, against this any lineup.
Yeah, definitely. They are 100% setting the pace of the game right now.
Yeah. So Air with you know, how he's done. And honestly, we talked about it, and I was saying more along the lines of the second night, but if you're going to do this in the first night, you know, by all means, keep doing it, Era. Like, you're doing an excellent job of getting kills. They're smoking up as a team. Look at how effective they are and just making sure they're not wasting any time, looking for ganks all over the place, and making space for, you know, the farmers in the game right now. And specifically in July. Obviously, Solark's more of that kind of, you know, go and do stuff kind of hero, but he is still getting room in that mid lane. So up in the top lane, we'll see who leads the way. It is going to be the hasted up Air with that Void at level 4. It's maxed out now. Shauna and A, they don't know what's coming on right now. In July is here. Iron Shell up. They're going to dive the tower again. Silence is up. Now Void as well. Crystal Nova, a lot of damage coming through. Walls on the ground. Early wall coming out. No vacuum though. He hasn't skilled it yet. Damage is there. It's just kind of a barrier. Shiki in trouble. Dragon Knight's going to fall. Double kill for the Wisp. The IO, excuse me, Air taking a lot of damage, but the dives under the towers are so effective now, and that's a 4-man engagement with 5 heroes coming in for NE.
Poor Nyx Assassin, and I think maybe a little bit of a misplay as well. He tried to finish farming his arcane boots and buy a TP, but like, so he was getting the last 2 hits, you know, the 2 last hits that were going to give him his arcane boots and a TP scroll as that dive started, and when he TP'd in, 2 heroes were already dead. He just ended up wasting his time. So maybe if he'd been carrying a TP right at the very start, I don't think he even would have had enough mana to do anything there. But just very unfortunate timing, and I guess goes to show the difference that like 1 or 2 last hits can make.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Obviously, I'd been there a little bit earlier. Might have been a little bit of a turn of a fight. Can we talk about in July picking up the wall this early on? Wow.
Look, man, it's 150 damage.
I know.
It's legit.
I think it's legit, but like, no vacuum. Why? I guess
no, but what do you like? Again, the question is, what are you vacuuming people into, and what is a level 2 vacuum doing for you at this point? If you drop the wall on the Luna and the illusion survives for 2 seconds, that's, you know, 2 swings that the Night Stalker gets off. That he, you know, with bonus damage. So I think it's, I don't know, I think it's fine.
Right.
I like the trend. I think I saw, and the trend is now that Darkseers are getting the first point in a wall earlier and earlier and earlier. It used to always be no wall until you had 4 vac, and then you got wall at 10 and 11. Now people are just getting it at level 1 because 150 damage is actually pretty significant.
Yeah, and we saw it used as a barrier as well. You know, you don't want to walk into a wall, which makes it sort of kind of, you have to tiptoe around the fight, and you really don't want to do that. So I do actually like it myself, and even if you don't have vacuum, it proved to be very effective. You mentioned the illusion surviving, that could be a big deal as well. So in July, with that trend, doing well for himself now at level 8. His arcanes, his soul ring is done. He's got, you know, a little bit of that core finished up. We'll see who picks up what items in terms of like mech and things of that nature. But Air looks like he'll get ganked mid. He has that sentry ward there, but it's not in time, obviously. The breathe fire, soul assumption, and the right click, and Nyx Assassin picks up an easy kill for himself. So nice gank, and they'll look for a tier 1 tower on top of it. It looks like there's some damage here.
Radiant's middle tower.
Unfortunately, Shiki managed to get some good damage down on the tier 1 earlier when they were diving the tri-lane top, so they got a little bit of a trade out when that happened. One thing I want to point out is I don't think that the Darkseer needs to have a Soul Ring and Arcane Boots when you have a Crystal Maiden on your team. I really would have much preferred, like, get one or the other, don't get both. You could have a much faster mech or a staff or whatever your first actual item is going to end up being. I think he's delayed himself 1k gold, no matter how you look at it here.
Yeah, I think you bring up a very good point, and I actually kind of neglected to think about the Arcane Ore for, you know, I guess though because it's only 1 point, he wants to have it both early on, but you still really don't need it, I feel like. So I agree with you.
I mean, I don't want to be too nitpicky. Yeah, it's something I thought was worth pointing out. But nice kill for NE. They're making plays with the Nyx Assassin. They're sort of taking control back a little bit. Well, tier 1 tower ended up being denied mid, so not the best for them, but at least getting back on their feet after the face rush that they've had during that first night.
Yeah. And it'll be another sort of kind of interesting moment once the second night hits at about 12 minutes into the game. They'll have to kind of check themselves for any and just say, listen, we got to play a little bit more sound. And it's going to be tough to do because when you rotate all 5 heroes up top to try to help out and you still lose 2 and don't get anything, that's a bit of an issue. So they'll have to say, what do we have now? Can we fight this? What can we do to keep ourselves safe? They have, I mean, no real vision here in the jungle, and you can see that's going to hurt them as you look at what DT are doing right now. They're forcing the issue up on Shiki, and Shiki doesn't really want to get hit right now. The Crystal Nova's going to go. There's the Void. There's the Silence, the Spirits, and the Impale comes through. The Vacuum back in. Shiki's still alive, rather tanky, but he's going to fall. Wall on the ground coming through. Spell was stolen. I'm not sure what it was. You can see Darkness is going to go right now as well. Damage coming through from Shiki and A. Shiki is going to fall. Next is 2 down. A. The Spirit's going through. The damage is too much. Double kill going in for In July. Z might get dove past this tier 2 tower. The Silence first. Now on the next Assassin. Dark Pact as well as the Pounds combining up for the kill. Night Stalker grabbing the last hit. They are going to town. They don't even care about towers. It's a double kill for the Night Stalker. That's a full-on team wipe coming out. And DT playing profoundly well.
Yeah, I mean, we said that the NE lineup is really, really standard. We've seen it before, and DT, they came in with a plan, and they're executing it 100%.
Top tower has fallen.
And they're getting some towers out as well. This is normally the problem when you have this kind of super aggressive lineup. You're never able to turn kills into towers, but they just 5-0'd them, and the creeps took the tower top, so things are looking really good.
If they couldn't get a tower off the back end of that, I'd have been...
I think still worth it. Still worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, but still, though, I mean, they needed to turn something... They needed to have this early game aggression. They needed to turn it on early, and they did. And so, props to them. The game is not out of the woods yet for them, obviously. They do have that 4,000 gold lead, which is nice at 13 minutes, but it's certainly nothing like the 7,500 we saw last game, or last series, excuse me. So... DT has a sizable lead, but obviously there are ways for NE to get back into it, and they can with, you know, a farmed Luna, but you look at what's happening now. They're losing their control over the jungle, albeit there aren't any real wards here for the Radiant team, but still, if that tier 1 tower goes down mid, then it's even worse for them as well. They are going to smoke up and look to try to find something of their own, and they may very well find the Slark, but with his Shadow Dance, it's going to be tough to bring him down for good. Yeah, they are going to spot him out. He's actually going to see them before they see him. Or vice versa, excuse me. I'm getting my words mixed up, but forgive me, so... Oh, relocate. They want to fight anyways. Well. Yeah, here we go. Air going right in. A takes so much damage from that Void, plus the Spirits absolutely falling down. The Dark Pact as well, combining it to grab the kill. Zhao Tule now on the hunt, coming out. Shanna, Silence, Void, Leap misses, but Dark Pact doing work as well as the right clicks. Now the Dragon Tail. The 2-man Impale, but the wall up, the Vacuum going through the damage. And it doesn't matter that you've got a Breathe Fire, because guess what? Air has a double kill, and it's almost another team wipe. Of course, they are missing that Luna, but really, who cares once they've gotten those kills down and the tier 1 tower mid?
And there's not even any safety anymore for any under towers. DT just do not care at all.
They really don't. It's just Burst Central, and they have tankiness in the Night Stalker, even the Darkseer, and actually a Slark to a certain extent as well. So it's like, how are you going to fight this? And Luna might actually get caught out of position. She will be able to back off safely, as Slark's not looking for kill, he's just looking for farm. Oh man, I don't know what you can do now for NE. I mean, you still are in this game, theoretically, but you've got to find ways to get your Luna farm. I don't know if they can smoke up and try to find something here, and they've got the Vendetta for the next Assassin. He might try to initiate. There's a Sentry Ward on the ground right now. Vacuum back in. That's a dead Nyx Assassin. They have the Sentry right there to grab the kill, and the tower's gone.
Poor Nyx. He's trying to... that's it. Okay. We're done.
That was unexpected.
Are we watching the same game?
Alright, well, fair. Okay. Listen, I'm trying to give them the benefit. I guess it wasn't. Alright, sorry. That's true.
No. It's obviously. I mean, they probably could have dragged it out a little bit longer, but I think the Nyx Assassin was the only thing that could have maybe dragged them back in, end some of those kill streaks, and maybe get some gold back in your pockets, get the BKB up on the Luna. But I think that's way too difficult. We didn't have to deal with that. We'll just go game 2. We'll take our beatings from game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've got a bit of a chance here to say, okay, let's regroup, let's get a better draft, let's go further here and see what we can do to get back into this one. But DT with just pretty outstanding play, I have to say, all around. So we'll see what they can do in game number 2. We'll see if NE can get back into it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here. Game number 2 is going to be coming up in just a moment. We'll be right back, guys, so stick around.